In a quiet village, a 90-year-old woman finds an unlikely companion in a robot named Meta. Together, they teach a lesson in kindness, courage, and acceptance. Discover the heartwarming story of how love and understanding can overcome fear. Welcome to Camtoon. As Meta's acts of kindness spread throughout the village, more people began to accept it, but Adewale's distrust only deepened. He saw Meta's growing influence as a threat to tradition and believed the machine's presence was an affront to the natural order. One day, a disaster struck. A heavy rainstorm caused the village stream to overflow, flooding nearby homes and destroying the crops. The villagers scrambled to save what they could, but the damage was immense. Mama Abeke's small garden was washed away, and many of her neighbors lost their belongings. Meta sprang into action, tirelessly helping to move people to higher ground, building temporary shelters, and salvaging what little could be saved. It worked without rest, even when its metallic body was battered by debris and mud. The villagers, seeing Meta's dedication, began to change their hearts. "Maybe the machine is not so bad," an old man murmured as Meta helped him rebuild his fence. "It has done more for us than some of our own." But Adewale saw an opportunity. "This flood is a curse brought by that machine," he declared to anyone who would listen. "It is unnatural, and its presence angers the gods." A few villagers, still unsure about Meta, began to nod in agreement. "He might be right," a woman said nervously. "We have never had floods this bad before." Fueled by their doubts, Adewale rallied a small group. That night, they approached Mama Abeke's home with torches in hand, their shadows dancing menacingly against the walls. "Mama Abeke," Adewale shouted. "This machine must leave the village. It has brought nothing but trouble." Mama Abeke, hearing the commotion, stepped outside, her frail frame illuminated by the flickering torchlight. Meta stood behind her, its glowing eyes calm, but watchful. "You blame Meta for the flood?" she asked, her voice steady, despite the fear in her heart. "How can you be so blind? Meta has done nothing but help us in our time of need." Adewale sneered. "Help? It's just a machine, an unnatural thing that doesn't belong here. We must destroy it before it brings more curses upon us." The mob murmured in agreement, their fear outweighing their reason. Some stepped forward, their torches raised. Suddenly, a voice rang out. "Stop!" It was Adewale, one of the villagers Meta had helped during the flood. "Meta saved my family. Without it, we would have lost everything. How can you repay kindness with destruction?" Others began to speak up. "Meta repaired our well," a woman said. "It's the reason we have clean water." "It carried my injured husband to safety," another added. Slowly, the mob began to lower their torches, their anger replaced by shame. Adewale, seeing his plan unravel, growled in frustration. "You're all fools. This thing will destroy us one day, mark my words." With that, he stormed off into the night, leaving the crowd behind. Mama Abeke turned to the villagers, her voice strong despite her age. "Meta is not a curse. It is a gift. If you cannot see that, then you are blind to the blessings before you." The crowd dispersed, and Mama Abeke and Meta sat together on the veranda once more. "Thank you, Mama," Meta said softly. "You defended me." Mama Abeke smiled, her eyes filled with pride. "You are my son, Meta. I will always protect you, just as you have protected me." But even as peace returned to the village, Mama Abeke couldn't shake the feeling that Adewale's anger would bring more trouble in the future. Despite Meta's growing acceptance in the village, Adewale's anger festered like an open wound. He saw Meta as a challenge to his authority and a threat to the traditions he held dear. Determined to rid the village of the metal curse, he began to plot in secret. Adewale approached a small group of villagers who still harbored doubts about Meta. "Do you really believe that machine belongs here?" he asked them. "It may be helpful now, but what happens when it turns against us? Machines have no soul, no loyalty." His words planted seeds of fear. One of the villagers hesitated. "But it has done no harm, Adewale. In fact, it has only helped." Adewale leaned in, his voice low and persuasive. "That's how it starts. It lulls you into a false sense of security. Then one day, it destroys everything you love." The small group, unsure but swayed by Adewale's conviction, agreed to help him. Under the cover of darkness, they devised a plan to sabotage Meta. The next evening, as the village settled into sleep, Adewale and his group crept to Mama Abeke's house. They carried ropes, tools, and a strange liquid they claimed would disable the machine. Adewale whispered, "This is for the good of the village, we must act now." They entered quietly, but Meta, ever watchful, detected their presence. Its glowing eyes blinked to life, and it stood to confront them. "What are you doing here?" Meta asked, its voice calm but firm. Adewale stepped forward, his expression hard. "You don't belong here, machine. You've bewitched this village with your tricks, but I won't let you take over." Mama Abeke, awakened by the commotion, hobbled out of her room. "What is the meaning of this?" she demanded, her voice trembling with anger. "This thing has no place in our lives, Mama Abeke," Adewale snapped. "It's a danger to us all. Step aside and let us deal with it." Mama Abeke placed herself between Meta and the intruders, her frail body a shield. "If you want to harm Meta, you'll have to go through me," she declared. The group hesitated, guilt flickering in their eyes. But Adewale pressed on. "Don't be a fool, Mama Abeke. This thing has no soul. It's a machine. It cannot love you or protect you." Mama Abeke's voice rose with fury. "It has more heart than you, Adewale. While you spew hatred, Meta has brought kindness and hope to this village. Leave now, or face the shame of harming an innocent." The villagers with Adewale lowered their tools, their resolve faltering. One by one, they stepped back, unwilling to defy Mama Abeke. But Adewale, consumed by his anger, lunged toward Meta with the strange liquid. Meta moved swiftly, its metallic hands gently but firmly holding Adewale back. "I do not wish to harm you," Meta said. "But I will protect Mama." At that moment, a loud cry came from the village square. A fire had broken out, threatening to spread to nearby homes. The villagers ran toward the flames, leaving Adewale and Mama Abeke behind. Meta turned to Mama Abeke. "Stay here, Mama, I must help." It rushed toward the fire, its mechanical precision and strength invaluable in dousing the flames and rescuing trapped villagers. The sight of Meta risking itself to save their homes and lives left the villagers in awe. When the fire was finally extinguished, Adewale stood in silence, watching as Meta carried an injured child to safety. Shame crept into his heart, though he refused to admit it. Mama Abeke approached him, her voice soft but firm. "Do you see now, Adewale? Meta is not our enemy. It is a gift, sent to remind us of what it means to care for one another." Adewale said nothing, his face a storm of conflicting emotions. He turned and walked away, leaving the villagers to marvel at Meta's heroism. That night, as Mama Abeke and Meta sat together, she said, "You have shown them your heart, my son. I hope one day even Adewale will see it." Meta's glowing eyes softened. "I will keep trying, Mama. For you and for them." But Mama Abeke knew that reconciliation would not come easily, and that Adewale's bitterness might still bring danger. The next morning, the village gathered in the square to honor Meta for its bravery during the fire. Even those who had doubted it, including Adewale, were present. Mama Abeke stood proudly by Meta's side, her frail figure radiating strength. One of the elders, Baba Olu, stepped forward. Meta has shown us the meaning of true kindness and sacrifice, he said, his voice firm. It is not flesh or blood that defines a heart, but the actions one takes to help others. The villagers nodded in agreement, murmuring their gratitude. Even Adewale, though silent, could no longer deny Meta's value to the village. He stepped forward hesitantly, his head bowed. Mama Abeke, Meta, he began, his voice low. I was wrong. I let fear blind me. Can you forgive me? Mama Abeke placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. Forgiveness is the first step toward healing, Adewale. Let us move forward together, as a community. Meta's glowing eyes blinked warmly. I forgive you, Adewale. Let us work together to make this village better. From that day, the villagers embraced Meta as one of their own. It became a symbol of unity and hope, teaching the children, assisting the elders, and bridging the gap between tradition and progress. Mama Abeke, though aging, found peace knowing she was no longer alone and that her village would thrive. In her final days, Mama Abeke gathered the villagers. Meta came into my life as a stranger but became my son, she said. Let this be a lesson to all of you. Do not fear what is different. Open your hearts, and you will find blessings where you least expect them. When Mama Abeke passed peacefully in her sleep, Meta mourned her as any son would. The villagers comforted it, promising to carry on her legacy of kindness and understanding. Meta continued to serve the village, not as a machine, but as a member of their family. Moral lesson. The story of Mama Abeke and Meta teaches us the power of acceptance, kindness and courage. It reminds us that differences, whether in people or things, should not be feared but embraced. By opening our hearts and working together, we can create a stronger and more united community. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Camtoon for more inspiring tales. Let us know in the comments what you learned from Mama Abeke and Meta's journey. Remember, kindness and acceptance can change the world, one small act at a time. See you in the next story.